Alright, so this is our introduction to the definition paper. For right now, you're only doing a proposal, but we kind of need to have our eyes on the prize in terms of where we're headed with this, which is going to be that 2-page long paper in the description above. So what is a definition? A definition is identifying what something is, and by extension, what something may not be. But for our purposes, it's going to be figuring out the core of something. What is the essential thing that makes that thing what it is? In this image, we have a whole bunch of things that I think we can all identify as superheroes. Now, they all do very different things. They are able to do those things in very different ways and for different reasons. But ultimately, they are all people who run around saving other human beings in movies and have abilities beyond that of normal people. So our working definition for a superhero might be people with extraordinary abilities who help other people. For the definition essay, we're really looking for 5 things. We're looking for a strong thesis statement, we're looking for some clear examples, standard paragraph structure, professional style, and MLA format. So what is a strong thesis exactly? Because we want the Hulk. We don't necessarily want Banner. He's pretty funny in Ragnarok, but that's not what we're looking for. A strong thesis is something that identifies, for a definition essay, what the core of a thing is. Again, we could say that superheroes are all different, and each one is going to be their own thing. That is not a strong thesis for our essay on superheroes. That is, in fact, an incredibly weak thesis because it doesn't tell us what a superhero is. It just says that there are different types of superheroes. And of course there are different types of superheroes. That's why we have to write a definition essay. Our stronger one would be the one we came up with a minute ago, just mere moments ago, of it's someone with extraordinary abilities who helps other people. We could also say that it's somebody who goes above and beyond, or it's somebody who embodies the values of their culture in a very clear and concise way. But for our Marvel movies, let's just say it's someone with extraordinary abilities who goes above and beyond to help other people. Second thing we're looking for are really clear examples. For this, you need to have probably about 2 examples. You can have 3 if you're a really concise writer, but I recommend normally sticking with 2. So what is it exactly that makes for a clear example? All right, let's talk about our superhero thing. 1. We've got Captain America. He's a superhero. Most people aren't going to argue with that. He didn't kick off the whole franchise, but he's a kid from Brooklyn who fought in the war and then he managed to save the world like 30 times over. He's really strong, he's really good with his shield, he's kind of trained to the peak of human ability. There's a lot of stuff he can't do, though, but he uses all of those skills that he does have to help people. And he does more than, well, at least I as an English teacher have done to save the world. Granted, he also has script writers and a massive budget to do it, but, close enough. Then there's Iron Man. He's not trained to the peak of human perfection. He doesn't have any innate abilities, other than being really smart and super wealthy. But what he does have is a suit that he made that give him abilities beyond that of a normal human being. He can shoot his repulsor blasts, like you can see in the picture. He did have a thing that was keeping him alive, he got rid of that, that's all okay now. He can fly! Basically unassisted. He doesn't need to have like a plane or anything like that. The jetpack is kind of built into just the clothes that he wears as Iron Man. So Iron Man definitely has abilities beyond that of a regular human being, and other than whenever he's wrecking his house getting in a fight with his best friend, he's by and large working to save people. So he fits our definition of a superhero. And then there's Doctor Strange, who, again, he was just a normal guy. He was a doctor. He was doing a lot to help people. People would have called him a superhero, or would have called him a hero, but not necessarily a superhero. He didn't have abilities beyond that of a normal person. He was just a really good surgeon. But then he learned magic, and he's using that to protect the universe from the demons and the aliens, and protect Earth and keep that one stone safe. Sorry if you haven't seen Infinity War, or if you don't care about superheroes. But he does have abilities beyond that of normal people, and he does use those abilities. Now, each one of these people have very different abilities. They each do different things. They do it for different motivations. But they're all doing extraordinary things to help people, so they do all fit our definition of a superhero. The third thing I'm looking for here is going to be standard paragraph structure. We talked about this back in Competency 3. Look at it again if you don't feel comfortable with it, if you're not sure if you feel comfortable with it. But here's a nice mnemonic that I like to use. It's called the meal plan. Step 1, main idea, or the topic sentence if you prefer. This is going to be the thing that you're talking about in a given paragraph. So, going back to our last one, Iron Man is one example of a superhero. That's going to be my topic sentence for paragraph number 2 in my essay. Then I'm going to provide my evidence. Well, he flies around, he shoots repulsor blasts, he does all of that stuff. Those are all going to be the reasons that I say that he is a superhero. Then there's analysis. I need to explain why those things make him super. Well, he goes above and beyond, and whenever he's doing these things, he's not doing it because he's joyriding most of the time. He's doing it because he's trying to help people. So he's got extraordinary abilities, and he helps people, which links us back to our thesis. So main idea, evidence, analysis, links. MEAL, the meal plan. So that's going to be our standard paragraph structure and a nice, easy way to remember it. The fourth thing I'm looking for here is professional style. We want you to sound like a professional. Class is meant to train you to function in the academic world. And you need to sound kind of like an academic to do that. This person is probably very interesting. They're not a professional. We don't want to sound like them. We want to sound like the woman on the other side. Now, what does that mean? It means speaking clearly. It means choosing your words carefully. And it means constructing your sentences in a acceptable way within the higher rules of English. I'm not looking to tell you exactly what style it is you need to use. Mostly what I'm worried about here is getting rid of bad habits. Asking rhetorical questions is a no-no in academic writing. That is considered to be casual style, and we don't want to do too much of that. Using slang is something that we're going to try to avoid throughout this class. Using too many personal pronouns, really any personal pronouns that aren't based on a personal example. You're not going to need to say I because people know that you're the one who's writing the paper. You're not going to say we because you don't necessarily know who's reading that paper and they might not be in the same group as you. You don't want to say you because, again, you don't necessarily know who's reading the paper. So just talk about the information itself and how it applies to the target audience without assuming that the target audience is the person reading the paper. And really, if you can do those three things, avoid slang, avoid pronouns, and avoid rhetorical questions, you're going to get rid of a lot of the worst habits in style. And finally, the last thing we're looking for here is standard MLA format. It's the one that you probably used in high school. I'm guessing you used it in English 2010, or English 1010. You're going to be using it again in English 2010. That means in the top left corner of the front page, you need to have an info box. First line, your name. Second line, my name. Third line, the class this is for. And the fourth line is the date. If I had to walk around printing these out, then that way I could easily get these back in order of where they need to go. Going along with that, in the top right corner of every page, not necessarily the first one, but I don't care if it's there or not, you're going to have a header. It's going to have your last name and the page number. And again, this is so that if I'm walking around printing these out and then suddenly a massive gust of wind blows everything away, I can get all of these papers pretty easily back into the correct order. And then finally, there's the font issue. You need to pick a readable font. You can use Times, you can use Arial, you can use Calibri, you can use Helvetica. It should be professional font. Don't use Comic Sans. But we're just looking for something that's going to be relatively readable. I don't care if it's serif or sans serif. If you know what those mean, don't worry about it. If you don't know what those means, definitely don't worry about it. The entire paper should be double-spaced. That includes the info box. That includes every single line. That means that there's not going to be any extra spacing between paragraphs. We're just looking for double space throughout the entire paper. And that font does need to be consistent. In the top right corner, your header should have the exact same font as the rest of the paper. The page number and the title should all be the same font. I'm not looking for a title that's size 36 and bolded and underlined. We don't do that in MLA. We keep the exact same font throughout the entire thing. We can tell where things are because we're using paragraph breaks and we're centering whenever we need to. And that is really what we're looking for in the definition paper. If you can knock all of those things out, you are very certainly guaranteed to get a bare minimum of a C. Probably a little bit better than that.